Good evening. My name is Janet Fisher Hughes. I'd like to welcome you to this candidates forum on behalf of the League of Women Voters of Camden County and the Cherry Hill Zone PTA. I will be your moderator this evening. I am on the board of the League of Women Voters of Camden County, as well as the League of Women Voters of New Jersey, and am joined by fellow League member Marilyn Bergen, who will be our timekeeper this evening. The League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan organization. This means that we never support or oppose individual candidates or political parties for any elective office. The League of Women Voters welcomes all adult citizens, women and men, and students as young as 16 who support our mission. Membership in the League provides opportunities to be involved in unique activities, including aspects of the political process without running for office or being active in a political party. For example, keeping time and moderating a forum are both valuable and interesting experiences. We'll train you. Registering voters is always rewarding. Attending a council meeting wearing a button puts officials on notice that the League is watching. If any of this sounds interesting and you would like to join us, please log on to lwvnj.org to become a member. The League also provides information about upcoming elections. This is provided by our general information website called Vote 411. Search for it. The voter registration deadline for the upcoming election is Tuesday, October 14th. And we want to remind voters that there are 3 ways they can vote in the upcoming election. Vote by mail ballot. Registered voters can apply for a vote by mail ballot by following the instructions found at vote.nj.gov or by contacting their county clerk. The deadline for applying for a vote by mail ballot is October 28th if applying by mail. The deadline for applying for a vote by mail ballot in person is November 3rd at 3 p.m. There are 29 drop boxes throughout Camden County, including 2 in Cherry Hill, that are available 24/7 through the close of polls for receiving vote by mail ballots. Remember, vote by mail ballots cannot be returned to any early voting location or at any polling place for this election. In-person early voting is an option that enables all registered voters to cast their ballot in person using a voting machine during a 9-day period prior to Election Day. You can now choose to vote in person when it's most convenient for your schedule. In Camden County, 7 in-person early voting locations will be open Saturday, October 25th through Sunday, November 2nd. Hours will be Monday to Saturday, 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. and Sunday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. No appointment is necessary. And finally, at your polling place on Election Day, you may vote in person at your polling place from 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. on Election Day, November 4th. Moving on to tonight's forum and format, I wish to reiterate the League of Women Voters is nonpartisan. Also, it is League policy that the moderator must not be eligible to vote in the election being moderated and therefore should have no personal interest in the outcome. Marilyn, our timekeeper, and I both live in Pennsauken. I will now review the basic structure of this evening's forum. The timekeeper, Marilyn, will give a 15-second or 30-second warning to candidates by holding up the yellow card. Then she will signal that the response time is up by showing the red card. I will allow candidates to briefly finish a sentence. Please come quickly to a conclusion when your time has run out. Time may not be banked nor given to another candidate. In this election, we have a total of 5 candidates, all of whom are vying for 3 3-year terms. 2 of the candidates are incumbents, and 4 of the candidates have joined us this evening. The forum will begin with opening statements, followed by audience questions submitted in advance by Cherry Hill voters. We will end with closing statements from each of the candidates. I will remind all candidates to please stick to the issues relevant to the office of the Board of Education and not bring in personal matters or other matters unrelated to that office. And I will request members of the audience to please hold their applause until the very end of this forum. So we will begin with opening statements, and the candidates will speak in random order. They each have 2 minutes with a 30-second warning. Brandy DeVoe is unable to attend this evening, and I will read her statement for her when it is her turn. So we will start with the opening statement for Colin Duckett.
Thank you. Firstly, I'd like to start off by thanking my fellow candidates for joining me here tonight, as well as the opportunity to be here at this forum. Having these forums, these robust discussions about the issues facing our district are important today, now more than ever, as civil discourse has become strained. But my name is Colin Duckett. I am a recent West graduate, class of 2024, and I served previously on the board from 2023 to 2024 as the high school West representative to the Board of Education. I'm running for the board tonight because I see a lot of struggle across all of our stakeholder groups. I see that students are not receiving the attention and the supports that they deserve, and I want to be there to support them, many of whom are my former classmates and friends. I'd like to restore community trust in the board and be a voice for all of those stakeholder groups, from teachers to homeowners to parents, students, and so forth. It's also important to me that the students have a voice. As a previous student representative, I will be a voice for the students and fight for their interests above all else. I'm also running tonight to restore administrative accountability as well as community collaboration. It's important that we as a board maintain impartiality and act in a nonpartisan way and collaborate with the community to our fullest extent and ability. In terms of my candidate, me sitting on the board, I will make thorough and in-depth inquiry into any questions or inquiries that the public has. And I look forward to acting in the better interests of the community and furthering the goals of the students here in Cherry Hill Public Schools. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, I will read the statement from Brandy DeVoe. And while I do that, Marilyn Bergen will time me. Good evening, Cherry Hill. Thank you to the Cherry Hill Zone PTA and the League of Women Voters of Camden County for organizing this important forum. I am not able to be with you in person tonight, but I am listening. I will respond to each question on my campaign Facebook page, Brandy DeVoe for Cherry Hill BOE. I am committed to being a strong voice for our community. As a parent and advocate, I know what it takes to fight for our children. I want schools where every student is supported, teachers have the tools to effectively teach our children, and critical programs are protected. Some of the key issues we face include supporting students, especially in special education. Too many students wait too long for services they need. I will push for clear timelines, better coordination, and accountability so every child gets the help they need when they need it. Retaining students helps increase state aid. We must ensure families want to stay in Cherry Hill schools. By supporting programs, inclusive learning, and student success, we can keep students engaged and enrolled. Second, supporting our teachers and improving retention. Teachers need tools, staffing, and training to meet students' diverse needs. By investing in these areas, we can keep experienced educators in our schools, which directly benefits every student. Third, transparency and communication with families. Families deserve to be informed and included. Regular updates, open forums, and accessible ways to ask questions and receive timely responses can strengthen trust and meaningful engagement. Fourth, inclusive schools. Every child should feel welcome and supported. I will advocate for programs, training, and resources that will help all students, regardless of background or ability, fully participate and thrive. Finally, budget and funding challenges. Thank you. Next, Candy Cummings.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Candy Cummings, and since 2016, I have been deeply involved in our school communities, serving on PTA executive boards at Sharp Elementary and Beck Middle Schools. Because of my successful leadership there, I was tapped to be the chair of the Cherry Hill Zone PTA, which represents 19 PTAs and their nearly 11,000 students of this district. This is a weighty position with serious responsibilities. Through this work, I've seen firsthand the power of families, teachers, and students working in true partnership. I will prioritize 3 commitments as a Board of Education member. Academic excellence, because each student should be challenged, supported, and inspired to reach their full potential while feeling a true sense of belonging. This includes prioritizing the special education population, which make up approximately 20% of our students. Support for teachers and staff. Educators are the backbones of our schools, and when teachers thrive, our students thrive. And finally, family and community partnerships. Families must always have a seat at the table in shaping our schools. Through my leadership, I've developed the skills and insight to navigate district processes effectively. I know how to connect with the right people, collaborate toward common goals, and advocate with both compassion and determination. This does not mean I always agree with the decisions being made. I am not afraid to speak truth to power, but I understand the importance of collaboration. My onboarding would be short, and I can hit the ground running. I believe in the promise of public education and the responsibility to invest in academic excellence and community trust. Schools are strongest when built together with transparency, open communication, and a shared vision for what each student deserves. These are my commitments to you as a board member.
Thank you. Gina Winters.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Gina Winters, and I am excited to be a candidate for re-election to the Cherry Hill Board of Education. I have been a member of the board since 2022, and I have really enjoyed the opportunity to collaborate and connect with members of our community on ways to make Cherry Hill Public Schools the very best they can be for all of our students. When I joined the board, the major question before us was the passage of the bond referendum. Just over 3 years later, the progress we have made in ensuring safe and healthy schools for our teachers, staff, and students is evident across the district. If re-elected, I look forward to finishing the job of overseeing the bond projects to make sure the funds the community entrusted us with are used wisely and well, and that our buildings are maintained so that our investment in school facilities is carried forward for future generations. Another key question has been how we can positively impact student achievement, especially in this era of fiscal uncertainty. Over the past few years, the board has pursued additional state funding for programs such as preschool expansion and high-impact tutoring to boost our revenues and maintain our focus on teaching and learning. We have also made data-driven decisions to drive curricular changes, such as the implementation of a consistent and effective math curriculum from kindergarten through Algebra 1 and our new elementary ELA curriculum based on the science of reading. If I am re-elected, I look forward to continued preschool expansion through additional state funding to increase access to the program for our youngest learners. I will also continue my advocacy to reform the school funding formula and ensure that Cherry Hill gets its fair share, while also seeking out additional revenue sources to support new and innovative programming in our schools. In closing, I would like to thank Zone PTA and the League of Women Voters for hosting this candidates forum tonight. Local elections matter, and I am grateful for this opportunity to communicate why I am asking for community support to continue to serve as a member of the Board of Education and build on the success that we've seen.
Thank you. Adam Greenbaum.
Thank you to Zone PTA and League of Women Voters for hosting tonight's event, and to my fellow candidates for joining me at this podium. Good evening. My name is Adam Greenbaum. I'm the current board vice president, and I'm excited to be running for re-election to the Cherry Hill Board of Education. When I ran for the board 3 years ago, one of the issues I campaigned on was school funding. As chair of the Business and Facilities Committee, I've been involved in passing 3 school budgets. We've faced different challenges each year, but have always kept the focus on our students and staff with an emphasis on academic success. I supported the bond referendum that is now delivering results for our students, and I've met with our lawmakers and gone to Trenton each year to advocate for additional funding and common sense changes to the school funding formula. I also campaigned on improving accessibility across the district, something that's been front and center with the many construction projects that I oversee. From our beautiful new APRs and new playgrounds to more accessible bleachers, parking, and paths at our athletic facilities, our district continues to expand accessibility to all of our students. But there's more work to be done, and I look forward to sharing my thoughts with the community about how I can continue serving the students of Cherry Hill. Thank you.
Thank you. And now we come to the question and answer portion of the forum. And I have used my discretion as moderator to select as many different questions as possible in the available time. We will have time to ask 14 or 15 of the questions this evening. Some of the questions submitted by Cherry Hill residents were similar to each other, so please don't be upset if your particular question is not used. Candidates will be called in random order using a sequence that I have prepared in advance. My order is designed so that as much as possible, no candidate falls in any position, like first or last, more often than other candidates. And each candidate will have 1 minute to respond to each question with a 15-second warning. So we will start. The first question: other than living in Cherry Hill, how are you connected to the Cherry Hill School District? And we will start with Colin Duckett.
So other than living in Cherry Hill, I am very committed to attending community events. I have been invited to a number. I'm looking forward to connecting with more stakeholders. One of my passions is to just listen, not hear people, but rather listen and understand their opinions, where they come from, their beliefs, their lived experiences, especially from those with whom that I don't necessarily agree. That's what you have to be committed to as someone who is governing. Cherry Hill itself, I have many friends still in the district, teachers who I'm still regularly in contact with. So I'm directly connected to the people who we will be making policy and legislating these these pieces of on the agenda for. So I look forward to remaining connected as much as possible and getting up here as often as possible, whether it's driving up here or taking Amtrak, and remaining committed to the people with whom I would be elected to serve. Thank you.
Thank you. Candy Cummings.
So besides living in Cherry Hill, I'm connected to the community through our PTAs. I have two wonderful kids, one in elementary and one at the middle school level. And I've been serving in the PTA now for nearly 10 years. I started when my son was in kindergarten, and he is now in 8th grade. And it's such a pleasure to be able to walk the halls of our schools, make the connections with teachers and other parents, as well as administrators. I see parents every day at drop off and pick up, and they view me as a trusted partner to bring their issues or their concerns or even just their ideas to the district and to principals at schools to have their voices heard. So that is one of the biggest ways that I am connected to the Cherry Hill community, besides being a resident here.
Thank you. N.M. Greenbaum.
Thank you. So I come from a family of educators. I've often joked my son sits at the same desk that used to be in my grandfather's classroom in the New York City public schools. It's probably time to get him a bigger desk, but I digress. As a parent, I've always been very involved in my son's education. We've gotten to know the teachers. We always read through the curriculum. It's not just so that we could help him. We want to know what he's learning and stay involved in his education. I've also always been very passionate about education, not just advocating for my own family, but for all of the children of Cherry Hill. Having good schools in Cherry Hill and well-educated population makes Cherry Hill a better place to live in. And finally, as a board member for the last 3 years, coming in as a board member, taking on leadership roles through committee leadership, and then becoming vice president, I bring the experience to to the district to continue advocating for all of our children and making Cherry Hill a better place.
Thank you. Gina Winters.
Thank you. I am the proud parent of 3 children in the school district, one in elementary school, one in middle school, and one in high school, and all 3 of my kids went through our amazing preschool program. That gives me a bird's eye view of what's going on at pretty much every level. In addition, as a board member, I have the privilege to go wherever I'm invited. So I try to make time in my schedule as much as I can to visit each and every one of our 18 schools. Several of you probably saw me out at back to school night, probably a bunch of times, depending on when I was out and about. I'm also an active volunteer in the community. I was a youth minister at Holy Eucharist Church for a decade, working with students from all 3 of our middle schools and 2 high schools. And right now I'm a Girl Scout leader of 13 of the most wonderful teenage girls in the universe from all parts of Cherry Hill. On the weekends, you'll find me out at football games, drama presentations, the library, the parks, and the playgrounds with my 3 kids, enjoying the community and celebrating what we have to offer here. I think connectedness to the community is a key part of being a good board member.
Thank you. My next question is, if elected as a BOE member, what are your goals for the district? And we will start with Gina Winters.
Thank you for the question. One of the reasons that I'm seeking re-election, asking for re-election, is because I feel like there are so many things that we've done in my time on the board, but we're just getting started. We've started the bond referendum projects. We're about 1/3 of the way through. If re-elected, I would love to see those projects completed in a way that honors the commitment the community made to fund them and make sure they're well maintained going forward. We're also only part of the way through our preschool expansion, one of our key achievement programs. If re-elected, I hope to be on the board to see that program to expand to reach all of our eligible students so they can experience high quality public education that will give them a solid start as they enter the district. Thirdly, I think our 5-year strategic plan that was community driven and the board voted on is something to look forward to in the next 5 years to really drive progress in the district forward on areas such as academic achievement, facilities, special education, and all the things that we know we need to do to make our schools even better than they are right now. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, Colin Duckett.
So my big goals, one of the reasons that pushed me to run is I come to the board with having a very recent take on Cherry Hill as a whole, not just as a representative, but being a recent graduate from West. I know exactly what is impacting students. Even now as a college student, I live what is being legislated through, educational bodies, and I understand how educational policy can impact students. One of my biggest issues is the school climate. I want to turn school into not something that the students necessarily view as a 7-hour chore that they have to do every day, but rather a home away from home. I moved to Cherry Hill in 2020, and that was at a very rough time in my life, and Cherry Hill West welcomed me with open arms, along with all of the staff and administrators and the student body in general. On top of that, I want to bring responsible budgeting back so that we can start investing and saving for our future and promoting the welfare of students through responsible budgeting so that they have the supports that they need to thrive.
Thank you. Next, Candy Cummings.
So my goals for the district as a board member would be to maintain and set even higher expectations for academic excellence for our students, to set them up for success after graduation. My second item would be increased teacher supports. And as I said earlier, teacher support is critical. Resources, training, respect, and empowerment are all things that we really need to instill in our teachers. And then lastly, strong community partnerships. And as a board member, I see that happening through, attending events, like my colleague said earlier, being out in the community, and then also working through the communications committee as a board member. Thank you.
Thank you. Adam Greenbaum.
Thank you. So first and foremost, school funding and fiscal responsibility. It's been 3 years since I campaigned on that, and it still continues to be a challenge and a priority. Every year, our district doesn't get our fair share, and every year we have to rise to the challenge to figure out how do we best support our students with limited and diminishing funds each year. As I mentioned earlier, every year I go to Trenton, I testify or submit written testimony, and I work with the Fair Funding Committee to advocate for funding. That's something we'll continue doing. Academic achievement or success. As we move forward, we need to continue adding more supports for all of our students that need them. Those in special education, those in gen ed, those who simply are falling behind and need supports. And we've done that through high impact tutoring. We've done that through implementation of multi-tiered system supports. And we need to continue to do that to ensure that every student gets the resources they need to succeed. Thank you.
Thank you. My next question, do you have any conflicts of interest that would prevent you from participating in important board votes? And we will start with Candy Cummings.
I have no conflicts of interest that would prevent me from voting.
Adam Greenbaum,
I do not have any conflicts of interest.
Gina Winters,
I do not have any conflicts of interest.
Colin Duckett,
I do not have any conflicts of interest. My only interest is pushing the students to be the best that they can be. And the only thing that would conflict with that is somebody who would want to make politically expedient decisions over preserving the students' well-being.
thank you. This next one is a longer question. The board has many responsibilities, evaluating and overseeing the superintendent, decisions about settlements and lawsuits, negotiating union contracts, decisions about curriculum changes, hiring and terminating staff, and budget choices that can potentially raise residents' taxes. What experience have you had to prepare you for these responsibilities? And we will start with Adam Greenbaum.
Thank you. So I get to start with the taxes question. As the business and facilities chair, this is my bread and butter. This is what we do every year. We're faced with the dilemma, do we raise taxes or do we cut something? Can we find something else to do more efficiently? And this district is running pretty slim already. Almost 80% of our budget are our staff and benefits. And that's one of our most valuable resources. That's the last place we want to cut from. So that's something that we look at every year. How can we streamline how we organize things? If there are any middle school parents listening, that's what was responsible for changing to the junior high model, is how can we save money? How can we run more efficiently and still provide the same or better supports to our students? And that's ultimately what it comes down to. We never want to use our maximum taxing authority, but we also need to focus on the needs of our kids.
Thank you. Next, Gina Winters.
Thank you. So my background includes a master's degree in public policy from Rutgers, where my focus was education policy. And I specifically looked into school funding formulas. So I have a good understanding of education, finance, and taxes from that perspective. I also spent almost 7 years working for the New Jersey legislature as nonpartisan research staff, where I worked on state budgets to understand better how property taxes impact people in communities and also how they fund our school system. Since I've been on the board, as Mr. Greenbaum said, we've faced budgetary crises pretty much every year due to declining state funding and have gone to Trenton to advocate for fair funding for Cherry Hill. This year, the board was given the choice, like all other districts were, to raise taxes astronomically to try to meet the gap. This board decisively rejected that choice. We decided instead to look for efficiencies and reorganizations within our budget in order to keep our taxes lower than most surrounding communities. Some communities around us went up to 20% in property taxes. This board understands, and I understand through my leadership, that that's not what we want to do in Cherry Hill. So we will, going forward, continue to make those tough choices.
Thank you. Next, Colin Duckett.
So as a former student board rep, I had a full year of being on the board and observing. I am described by many as an observer, and that's what I do best. And as I said, I love listening to people, but especially here, we have an incredibly capable and accomplished administrative team. And I will come into the board with open ears and make active inquiry into state records, state law, previous precedent, previous actions that the district has taken back in years where we were financially well-funded. I also have, being a student at American University, both my business degree courses as well as my courses for my minor in public administration and policy. A lot of those classes are helping, and I have vast connections of people who are willing to help and to kind of help me fill those gaps where my knowledge might lack, so that I can make sound judgments that will be gauged to help the student body and all of our stakeholders equally. Thank you.
Thank you. Candy Cummings.
So my background is in human resources and in corporate governance, but equally as important, I've been out and about in the community for a long time, listening and paying attention to what the community wants. I've also served on many district committees, whether those have been focus groups, strategic planning, portrait of a graduate, and it's very good to hear and be in that room where it's happening, where those decisions are being made. And through my work on Zone PTA, it's really put me in a position to understand how the district works from bottom up and top down. So it's very helpful to know who to go to, when to go to them, and how to get issues solved internally. Thank you.
Thank you. Next question. The board has many time-consuming responsibilities each week. How will you balance the time commitment of the board with your personal and/or school or work responsibilities? And we will start with Gina Winters.
This is actually a really great question. If given 3 more years, I promise to commit myself to being active and engaged in the community with the same seriousness that I've committed to it over the past 3 years. I make it a point to go everywhere that I am invited to speak with people in all of our schools and to really meet that challenge of being an active, involved, and engaged board member. The past 9 months, I've been privileged to serve as board president, and that comes with increased roles and responsibilities on the board. I think I've met that commitment and have really moved forward to have the board join together collaboratively to work through all the problems and challenges we have out in the community and listening to everybody out there.
Thank you. Adam Greenbaum.
Thank you. So how do you fit it all in? It's a really good question. The public sees 2 board meetings a month, maybe a committee meeting, but at times this could be 20, 30 hours a week. There are community engagements. There's a lot of reading to do, and that's what I do. I read everything. I engage with the community where I can. I listen. I always want to hear what people think about things and how we can meet their needs better. You block out time for it. Every weekend, I have several hours blocked out to read through memos and to discuss with some of my colleagues. And probably one of the most important things is support from your family, because there are going to be times when somebody else has to make dinner, so you can go to a meeting, or you can go to a back to school night, or you can go support an effort that's needed. But it's really just about finding that right balance, having the right support, and delivering on your commitment to the community.
Thank you. Next, Candy Cummings.
So I echo what Adam said. It was very well said. You make space in your day. You plan your time. Just this week alone in community events, I have been to 2 separate school assemblies. We had a wonderful Constitution Day assembly, as well as an assembly on enthusiasm in our beautiful new APR at Sharp. I've been to 2 PTA meetings, ribbon cuttings, as well as other township events. So when I tell you that a lot of times my schedule is nonstop, it really is nonstop. But otherwise, like I was saying, you block your time. I'm able to have a flexible schedule. So I'm out and about, and I'm able to make the time in my day and in my week to attend events, meetings, and of course, read information and briefings as needed.
Thank you. Colin Duckett.
I'd like to actually build off of what Ms. Cummings said. There's nothing better than being out of the house. I'm someone who really thrives on pressure. I do well under pressure. I do well when my schedule is absolutely packed. These days, I attend American University, yes, and the community has raised some concerns about that, and it's entirely valid. I have an incredible team supporting me, from my family to my mentors to my professors, and they've all helped me set up my schedule and going forward also, so that I can make it to board meetings. I only go to a school 3 hours away. I've come up to New Jersey just in the past month of school, probably 10 times, and I would not be running for this position if I couldn't do it. I also have an incredibly flexible boss at work, and so far my campaign work, which will become board work, has incorporated seamlessly into my homework. So again, I say if I couldn't be running this and know I could give 100%, I wouldn't be doing it.
Thank you. Our next question. Teacher and staff retention is a challenge Cherry Hill has been facing. What ideas do you have for improving these retention rates? And we will start with Colin Duckett.
So I'd like to start off with some facts. Cherry Hill Public Schools is 478th out of around 500 districts for starting salaries for bachelor degrees, and I believe 456th when it comes to starting salaries for master's degrees. Middle and high school teachers regularly have to fill additional periods as a result of vacancies, and staff in general feel ignored and unsupported. Nobody's going to blame them. We have to involve staff more in the discussion and go to teachers and provide for them supports. A lot of teachers are experiencing burnout, and that is not something that should be happening. Teachers should want to come to work. Education is a beautiful thing. As someone who comes from a family of educators, I understand that our teachers are so incredibly vital to ensure a good education system. I would work on putting in place mental health supports, as well as the implementation of AI and other digital means to make regular tasks more efficient for teachers, and find innovative avenues that they can rely on us to support them.
Thank you. Gina Winters.
Thank you. So I've been really lucky over the past 2 years that I've been the board representative to LMC, which is the Labor Management Collaborative, which is a way that teachers, staff, and board members and administration can all come together to work collaboratively on problems they see for the district. One of the key focuses of that group has been staff wellness. We see this reflected as well in our 5-year strategic plan, where staff wellness was a priority that we set forward. So there's definitely a focus on that looking ahead. Looking back, though, I just wanted to note that when Mr. Greenbaum and I went to Trenton, not this past year, but the year prior, to advocate for additional funding and got that funding, the very first thing we did was enhance the salary guide for teachers to address the problems that Mr. Duckett raised head on. It's definitely top of mind. And even in this time of fiscal uncertainty, we have been sure that when we do have additional resources, we put it right where it's needed most, which is to support our teachers and wonderful staff.
Thank you. Adam Greenbaum.
Thank you. So this is an important question and something that the board and the administration has been very focused on for the last, I'd say, 2 years at least. We actually have a pretty good retention rate as a district. We have between 30 and 60 people a year that positions we have to fill. It's about a 95% retention rate. Where we always struggled is, as Mr. Duckett said, our starting salaries at the lower end of our pay scale, at the lower steps. We were among some of the lowest in South Jersey, and that was a problem we sought to address last year. As Ms. Winters said, that was one of our first priorities when we had some of our funding restored last year, was what can we do to fix that? And we became one of the best paying for the bottom half of the pay scale for those lower steps. And in working with LMC, the Labor Management Collaborative, we've been able to validate that that has had a very positive impact on recruitment. We're able to fill all of our open positions each year. We've focused on staff wellness, and I hope we continue to build on that to have happy and healthy staff that stick around for a long time.
Thank you. Candy Cummings.
Well, as a board member, I'd work through LMC, but also I would work along with my board colleagues to decide to issue a charge to the district, which essentially says that they need to prioritize teacher retention and increased pay scale steps. So that would be one way initially to work through teacher retention.
Thank you. My next question. How will you fight for the rights of Cherry Hill's special needs students? And we will start with Adam Greenbaum.
Thank you. So this is another issue that I had campaigned on 3 years ago. And the interesting thing about this is, as a school board member, I have no authority over special ed placement, and I have very little visibility into it. But that doesn't mean we don't have a way to advocate. This year we formed a special education committee to start talking about how we could build out supports, how we can continue collaborating with groups like Giuseppe, work on building out groups like CPAG, a parental advisory group, to help better advocate for all of our students and ensure representation in all of our schools. We've also worked hard to expand opportunities for all of our special ed students, including things like AP courses and additional supports. We've worked on implementing multi-tiered system of supports that ensures every student has the supports that they need. It's something that I'm very passionate about. It's something that I will continue advocating for in every way I can. Thank you.
Thank you. Candy Cummings.
Well, special education and inclusivity go hand in hand. Inclusivity means ensuring every student has the support they need to thrive. That's why I value systems that are already in place, like 504s, IEPs, and MTSS, which give us the framework to meet students where they are. I see them not as just documents or acronyms, but commitments to children and families. Inclusivity is making sure that a child with an IEP has the same access to opportunity as their peers, or that a student supported by MTSS gets early intervention before falling behind. It's about listening to parents, collaborating with teachers, and making sure resources are there when they're needed. In our community, inclusivity is more than a policy, it's a practice. And as a board member, I will always champion the tools and teamwork that help every child feel seen, supported, successful, and most of all, have a sense of belonging. Thank you.
Thank you. Colin Duckett.
So this is something I feel really strongly about, just going back to what Ms. Cummings said about the hand in hand going with inclusivity. It's vital that we as a board ensure that any marginalized group in our district is fully supported as much as anybody else would be. Starting off, I will commit right here to be a thundering voice for any injustices that would cross our special education community. I also have a few ideas, such as collaborative planning time with gen ed and special ed teachers, kind of sharing ideas, because as we know, IEP 504 plan students aren't necessarily in separated classes. They are with gen ed and allowing teachers to really, gen ed teachers to really gain that understanding that every student learns differently and that they're prepared to teach different students, as well as making sure that our special ed students can remain at their home school, as well as ensuring that all of our databases remain updated and can be translated into all 72 spoken languages in Cherry Hill. Thank you.
Thank you. Gina Winters.
Thank you. Beginning in January of 2023, so my first full year on the board, I became the chair of the Curriculum and Instruction Committee, and special education fell under that committee. So ever since then, I have been somebody who's been intensely involved in talking about special education issues on the board and how they impact both the special education community and the larger community when it comes to inclusivity. This year, we decided to increase our focus on special education by creating a special education committee as an offshoot of CNI, specifically focused on the issues that matter to the special ed community. That committee, I think, has been really effective in incorporating dialogue about special education and goals for the next 5 years into the strategic plan. Additionally, looking forward to elementary redistricting, a key portion of that conversation will be how to thoughtfully place special education, special classes in elementary schools to make sure that kids are served as close to their home school as can possibly happen. That's definitely something that the board will be working on over the next year.
Thank you. My next question, how will you fight, oh, excuse me. How would you build consensus in the community? And we will start with Candy Cummings.
Well, the best way to build consensus is to go out and talk to people, hear what their thoughts and opinions are, hear what gets their goat, hear what boils them up a little bit. And then start really talking to them about what matters inside of what gets them, right? So you have to learn to be able to listen deeply and draw that out of them, and then ask the right questions to bring them to a conclusion. So that would be, in my opinion, the best way to come to a consensus. Just keep talking through it, keep working, keep collaborating, until everybody comes to an agreement. Consensus on a board is so important. It's very important to have a unified board. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, Colin Duckett.
So building consensus in the community requires including all voices, especially those that we as a board don't agree with. It starts with, allowing members to speak at the mic and not cutting them off. Not allowing other community members to bash community members at the mic. As I said, I don't hear people, I listen to them. And there's nothing I love more than going out and listening to people's lived experiences, and going back and creating policy based off of that. It also means ensuring that our community as a whole has access to the facts that we're, when we're doing enacted policy research, that we're putting out research from reputable, impartial sources that people can base their opinions on, right? Because opinions have to be based in facts. It also means collaborating to the fullest extent, involving every stakeholder group, even people who don't have children or maybe had children in the district 20 years ago and they just own a home, because ultimately the decisions we make impact them too. I'll be a voice for everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Gina Winters.
So I want to do a little bit of a different take on this and give an example of when I thought we did it really well and what I think could be a model going forward. When we started to talk about implementing the cell phone policy in the district, that bubbled up through Zone PTA initially. But rather than the board and the P&L committee, which I sat on the time, just deciding to write a policy, we made sure that all voices were included in the pre-work before working on that policy itself. So came from Zone PTA, we listened to CHEA, the teachers union, LMC was involved. A survey went out to families in the district and students, district administration was involved. By getting all those voices together ahead of time and having them collaborate, we really heard about what the pitfalls of a possible policy could be and the promise of it. So that when the policy itself was written and implemented and then communicated out very well by the administration to the community, we had broad consensus and a policy that worked for everybody. I think that's the model going forward. Get all the voices together and listen before you start writing and acting. And then once the decision is made with all those thoughts, communicate it back out well.
Thank you. Adam Greenbaum.
Thank you. In one word, listen. We get out there in the community, or you engage with your peers, or whatever group it is you're trying to find consensus with, and you listen. You ask questions, you ask why, and you figure out what the underlying needs really are. And you focus on common values, and you build from there. Because when we disagree respectfully, sometimes we find out we really do have common goals. And it's how we meet them that we need to discuss. And when we can come together and start with common values and meeting those common needs, that's when we could first start building consensus to come up with the solution.
Thank you. Our next question, do you support or oppose policy 5756, which states that there is no affirmative duty for any school district personnel to notify a student's parent or guardian of the student's gender identity or expression? And could you also add why you either support or oppose policy 5756? And we will start with Colin Duckett.
Again, something that's really important to me, especially from the perspective of being a gay man and understanding how these identities can impact students. I absolutely support it. The argument will be made that it violates parents' rights, that it is trying to take the kids away from the parents. I disagree. There's a lot of scenarios and situations out in the world where kids come out and they try to field themselves, and speaking from experience, it's not received well. We have to be here to make a plan with students to kind of figure out how they would approach that with their parents and support them in any way they can, not trying to sway them on, this is your identity or this is your identity. That's not what we're here to do. What we're here to do is ensure that the students know that they are empowered and that they are supported here, and that we will help them work it through at home. This is about protecting the students, not about taking away parents' rights.
Thank you. Candy Cummings.
So I agree with Mr. Duckett. This is not a mandated policy. It's a policy that our district chose to adopt. And at the core of it, it's about being supportive, giving students a safe environment in an inclusive education. It's about fairness, it's about dignity, and it ensures that all students, including transgender and gender nonconforming students, can come to school knowing they will be respected for who they are. And obviously, one of the more debated aspects is that students don't need parental consent for their identity to be recognized at school, which can feel concerning to some families. But again, the reason behind this is a safeguard. It's student safety. Not every child feels safe talking about their gender identity at home. This policy allows schools to affirm and protect those students while also encouraging family involvement through counseling and support services wherever possible. This reflects our values and our responsibilities as a district. Thank you.
Thank you. Adam Greenbaum.
Thank you. I support the rights of all of our students, including our transgender students. Policy 5756 does not grant any special rights or privileges to transgender students. It simply enumerates the rights afforded to all based in state and federal law. Those rights include the right to privacy and the right to anti-discrimination. All other guidance flows from there. When it comes to athletics, we defer to NJSIAA, the state governing agency for high school sports. They have strict requirements to ensure that nobody has an unfair advantage. And when it comes to bathrooms, the only thing transgender students want to do in the bathroom is go to the bathroom. I support policy 5756. When we protect the rights of all of our students, they feel safe, supported, and able to learn. And that's our responsibility as board members.
Thank you. Gina Winters.
Thank you. I agree with everyone here at this table. When I think about inclusivity, when we talk about inclusivity, to me, that means at its core that our public schools are here for all of our students, every single one of them, no matter who they are, where they come from, how they identify, who they love. Our public schools are here to be a place where they are all welcomed, included, and belong. So that's really the first key primary piece of it. The second piece of it is that as a board member, you swear to uphold the Code of Ethics for school board members. And the first two pieces of that really speak to this. First of all, we swear to uphold and enforce all laws, rules, and regulations of the State Board of Education and court orders pertaining to schools. Secondly, we swear to make decisions in terms of the educational welfare of children and develop and maintain public schools that meet the individual needs of all children, regardless of their ability, race, creed, sex, or social standing. As a board member, when I said that oath and took those promises, I took them seriously. This isn't about what one individual board member thinks, wants, needs, or believes. This is about upholding the law for all students in our schools.
Thank you. My next question. The district has lost millions of dollars in state funding in recent years. How do you plan to advocate for fair funding? And we will start with Gina Winters.
So this is a great question. And Mr. Greenbaum and I have been to Trenton every single year since we joined the Board of Education to advocate for funding. In addition, this year, I was given the opportunity to testify both in front of the Department of Education on the current school funding formula and the General Assembly Budget Committee during the budget hearings, and meet with our local Assemblyman Greenwald, to talk about the impact of the school funding formula on Cherry Hill. At this point, to be honest with you, I believe that SFRA, the school funding formula, is broken. it is not doing what it was intended to do when it was enacted in 2008. I think going forward, Cherry Hill needs to be a strong voice. As the largest school district in South Jersey, we have a voice at the table to advocate for a school funding formula that makes sense and make sure that Cherry Hill continues to get a fair share of funding going forward so that we can support safe, healthy, excellent, sustainable schools for our students.
Thank you. Colin Duckett.
So as someone who attended Trenton in my capacity as a former board member and delivered testimony, I can tell you that the funding formula is broken, as Ms. Winters said, absolutely. And it really requires to shift our model from advocacy to demands. Cherry Hill is one of the largest districts in South Jersey, and we have a vast amount of social and political influence. And I would argue that we need to get angry and start using it. You know, state leaders who fail to, state leaders who fail to act in the best interest of their constituents should be primaried and removed from their seat. It's important that we're responsibly budgeting and that we're making smart decisions, having high maintenance standards for our facilities so that we fix stuff before it breaks, reassessing our transportation plans. It's important to be smart, have logic and reasoning with this. Thank you.
Thank you. Candy Cummings.
So I too was at Trenton in 2024 and in 2025. Most recently 2025, when I spoke at the Assembly budget hearing in support of fair funding for our Cherry Hill School District. I also advocated for reform of the funding formula before the New Jersey Department of Ed this winter. And I just want to say to everybody out there that advocacy has to be personal. You have to speak up for your students, tell the powers that be what is important to you and make them feel it. When legislators can relate to you, they respond to you. So we must speak up for our students, our staff, and our taxpayers at every level of government. Join the Fair Funding Committee. Learn how and when to make a push. And I will be a careful steward of every tax dollar, always looking for grants, partnerships, and efficiencies that can ease the strain on families. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Adam Greenbaum.
Thank you very much. And I'm going to repeat a lot of what we've already heard here. I'm very proud to say everybody at this table has been in Trenton testifying, and I thank every one of you for going there, submitting written testimony. Many people in our town have done the same. I think all of us have attended Fair Funding Committee meetings. We've worked with some of their advocacy. Something that some of us have started doing this year is joining a county-wide Fair Funding Committee, meeting with other districts in South Jersey to figure out what they're doing, what we're doing, what our common goals are, what works and what doesn't work. Continue meeting with our lawmakers. That's something that we've done with our local assembly, with our mayor, with other lawmakers. Even when we go to a conference in the fall for school board associations, some of our legislators are there and they're willing to listen to us and hear what we want to say. Collaborating with those in the community, build consensus and get loud, right? We need to keep doing what we're doing and we need to do more. We've gotten results before. We've gotten some of our funding restored. We've at least gotten some limits on what they can cut, but we need to revise the formula. We need our fair share.
Thank you. The next question. With artificial intelligence becoming more and more prevalent in our lives, how do you plan to address it with concern to both policy and curriculum? And we will start with Candy Cummings.
AI can be a powerful tool in education, but it must be used intentionally and responsibly. Students need clear guardrails so that AI supplements learning rather than replacing the critical thinking process. We cannot allow students to rely on AI to do the thinking for them because problem solving, creativity, and independent analysis are the skills that will carry them into the future. That's why we need strict parameters around its use in classrooms, with teachers guiding when and how it adds value. And just as important, we have to teach students how to identify when something may be too good to be true and recognize when they're looking at AI-generated work. In short, the goal isn't to ban AI, but to teach our kids to use it wisely, thoughtfully, and in ways that strengthen, not weaken their education. In my role as a board member, I would work through policy and legislation to craft an appropriate policy with the guardrails that students need.
Thank you. Adam Greenbaum.
Thank you. So as I'm sure we're all aware, AI is not going away. It's already here. It's integrated into everything that we use. And it could be a very valuable tool. I work as a defense contractor. It's something that we use every day, but it's not something we use to do the work for us. It's something we use to help us do the work. Tasks that would have normally taken longer, insight that might require a lot more work to get. But it needs to be used correctly. We have to be aware of when to use it, how to use it, and when we should not use it. We have to be aware of the dangers of it. Because of that, the district has already worked through the P&L policy to come up with the first draft of an AI policy. It's something that we're looking to pass soon, but it's also something that I'm sure will be a living policy, a living document, and will need to continuously be revised as AI capabilities expand and we learn new ways to use it and new pitfalls of using it.
Thank you. Gina Winters.
Thank you. So the AI policy is, I would say, the next big thing that's on deck for the board looking into the fall. The issue was already heard in the Curriculum and Instruction Committee, which I chair. Over the past 2 months, that committee gave feedback. Mr. Joel Mayer, who's the chair of P&L, was gracious enough to sit with us and hear our feedback and comments. And now it's going to go over to his committee for policy development. In the meantime, as board president, I've asked all board members to attend the many, many conferences, workshops, classes, and all these things that are taking place all over the state. Because the thing is, we're not doing this alone. We're not doing this in a vacuum. Every single school district throughout the state is grappling with what to do for an AI policy. And I'm a firm believer that the more things that you hear and the more perspectives you have, the better your policy will be. So all this fall, there are different classes going on throughout the state virtually. There's also our JSBA workshop coming up in October, where many of the workshop sessions will be on AI. We'll gather information and bring it back and make sure that our AI policy is the best it can be for our students and staff.
Thank you. And Colin Duckett.
So I'll start off with a story. Just to preface, American University is one of the top universities for AI integration. Every student has access to Perplexity Pro and will throughout their entire education. We had a entrepreneurship class last semester, and our professor had a meeting and he left, and he actually left us to be taught by the AI. And through that, we learned prompt engineering. We learned how to identify hallucinations. Now, at the end of the class, the general consensus was that we could never replace the teachers, and that's not what we're going to allow to happen here. But the point is, folks, that just within the next 5 or 10 years, AI proficiency is going to be a highly desirable job skill in a plethora of fields. So it's incumbent on us to enact policy that protects students, protects their data, protects their information, but also allows them to get that basic knowledge in prompt engineering and hallucination identification and bias identification so that they can go out into the world and be successful with AI.
Thank you. Our next question. Do you support or not support an outside audit of the school district's budget with the appropriate findings written in a way that the Cherry Hill taxpayer can understand? This was done many years ago and was a great benefit to the public at large. And we will start with Adam Greenbaum.
Thank you. So this is an interesting question because every year the district does go through an external audit of all aspects of our finances, of our budget, of our operations. The interesting thing about that is we have very few findings. And ironically, one of the few that comes up every year is we didn't spend enough out of certain funds because there are statutory limits on how much money you can carry over. It's a lengthy document. I recommend everybody read it every year. I read the last 3 years of them before I ran the first time. I continue to read it every year. Now, there is something that's posted to the district website under the finance department called the user-friendly budget. It's not that user-friendly. It's a little bit better than the full document. But the best way to understand what we are doing with our budget is to look at our BA's presentations for what we're doing with our budget and see how they align with what's in that audit, what the findings are, and more importantly, what they aren't.
Thank you. Gina Winters.
I don't know if I can do that any better than Mr. Greenbaum, who's our budget expert on the board, which is why we work so well together. But we do have an independent audit. It happens every year. I guess my piece of advice to somebody who's looking for it to be given in a digestible manner is to, as crazy as this is, watch the board meetings, because we always have a report out where the main findings of the audit are presented to from the board to the community, and you can get that information. Now, this question seems to me to be more of a communication piece, because if Adam and I both think that the audit is being done and the findings are out there and the community does not, then it falls back onto the board to be communicating that information out in a way that the community can access and understand better. So I would say that's my takeaway from that question, since I think that the findings have been pretty clean every single year, and maybe we just need to make that more transparent.
Colin Duckett.
I absolutely support it, and it sounds like it's been underway for some time. There's nothing better than the perspective of an outsider looking in and then using that perspective to reflect introspectively and to make adjustments. I would just ensure that it's being communicated out properly, and that it's translatable again in all of our 72 languages, and make inquiry into what the audit is telling us to do, and see if we can tweak it to be better, if and consult with of course our business administrator. It is our business administrator's responsibility to make it digestible, not just for the community, but for us as a board. Sometimes numbers are a headache. But no, I absolutely support it. I think it's great.
Candy Cummings.
So I don't think that what I have to say is going to differ very much from anybody else up here. We do an external audit as a district. The findings are usually slim to none. It's online, it's large, it's many tabs, it's many columns. User-friendly budgets are a great way to go. They're not very user-friendly, but also keep in mind that anytime you bring in an external contractor, that's an added expense. So if we need to bring it, it needs to be built into the budget already to have that external auditor come in and do the audit for us.
Thank you. My next question. Do you support or oppose the Freedom to Read Act passed into law last year, which requires the local education agencies provide standards for curation of library materials, establish criteria for the removal of existing school library material, and provide protection against attempts to censor school library material? And we will start with Gina Winters.
I absolutely unequivocally support the Freedom to Read Act. Anybody who knows me knows that reading everything and anything I can get my hands on is my favorite activity, and I can often be found at the library doing just that. But in all seriousness, I think this comes down to trust. I trust our school librarians to make decisions with materials in the libraries that are appropriate for children at each grade level. That means the things that your kid have access to in kindergarten are not the same things they have access to in high school. I also think it's really important that kids see themselves and their families reflected in the materials that we use. That includes being inclusive of all different kinds of family structures and families that are out there when they go to the library, so that when they're reading books about families, they can see themselves in them. I think that's really key, because students read and understand better when our books are expansive and expose them to things that reflect themselves and also stretch beyond themselves to communities they may not know about or interact with on the regular, but then they can learn and be more responsive global citizens going forward.
Thank you. Adam Greenbaum.
Absolutely. And I don't think my answer is going to differ very much. I absolutely support the Freedom to Read Act. I support the intellectual freedom to learn new things and explore new perspectives. I trust our librarians who have master's degrees in library science and years of experience to curate our collections and select age-appropriate books for our students. There's certainly books that contain more mature or controversial topics that you might find in our high school libraries. You're not going to find those in your kindergartner's classroom. And I'm sure there's some more sensitive subjects that might be further restricted. They might be behind the counter and require parental permission. But the important thing is when you support the freedom to read, we help our students broaden their horizons, develop critical thinking skills, and learn and grow.
Thank you. Candy Cummings.
So I absolutely 100% support the Freedom to Read Act. It's about protecting curiosity, which is at the heart of learning. We shouldn't punish curiosity. We need to reward it more often. When students have access to a wide range of books and perspectives, they develop empathy, creativity, and critical thinking skills that prepare them for the real world. If we start removing books because they make someone uncomfortable, we limit not just access to information, but also the ability of students to think independently and grow as learners. Schools should be places where young people can explore, ask questions, and engage with challenging ideas in a safe and guided way. The Freedom to Read Act ensures that we preserve these opportunities. It says to our students, your curiosities matter, your voices matter, and your right to learn matters as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Colin Duckett.
100% support the act. There's really not much else to say. I can't even believe that this is a topic of discussion today. Book banning is unconstitutional, point blank period. Any side that tries to, any political group that tries to take books would be freaking out as much as if their opposing group would be taking books away. But this is really not a political issue, folks. This goes back to academic performance. And if we're to be promoting students learning, how can we tell them that we honestly support them learning if we're taking their access to literature away? Yes, there are controversial topics. There are books about politics. There are extremely emotion provoking and sensitive topics, but that's the point of reading. We wouldn't be the United States of America if we didn't have free thought. This shouldn't even be a topic for discussion, but I absolutely support it 100%.
Thank you. My next question: how, if at all, does collecting and monitoring racial statistics benefit our students and families? And we will start with Candy Cummings.
Well, that's a good question. I guess monitoring statistics as a district helps us understand who is in our community, who is in our population, what sensitivities we might have to help them, to further equality in our district. We really do need to measure those things so that we could see where the gaps are. I don't necessarily see too much of a downside to measuring it. But yeah, I think measuring it is a great idea to help us identify where gaps can be and where we can close those gaps and help everyone achieve and have equal standards. Thanks.
Thank you. Colin Duckett.
Thank you. So it's undeniable that we as a society have come a long way in terms of race relations, but I 100% support it because at the end of the day, we are still a society that was founded from a very biased past, I'll say it, a very racist past. It's where our country stems from, and we all work together every day to move away from that. Collecting these race statistics are going to help us identify groups that are not meeting the standards that they should be, and will help us determine what supports we need to put in place so that we can close that racial gap, that close that disparity. It also goes to speak to collecting statistics about the separations between our students who are different in gender expression and sexual expression. All of these things are important to collect so that we can have a well-rounded universal view of how best to address every student group and ensure that the supports that we're putting in place for them are custom tailored to them. Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you. Gina Winters.
So my philosophy when I'm looking to make decisions on the board is to look at it primarily in two ways. I look at it student-centered and I look at it data-driven. That's the way to make decisions that will benefit our schools going forward. When we're looking at statistics about race, we're looking for disparate impacts. So we're looking to see how the things that we're implementing are are affecting different groups of kids across the district. When you look at a district like Cherry Hill that's getting more and more diverse as each year passes by, especially when you look at the growth in our Hispanic community and our Asian communities, we need to know if the decisions we're making are impacting our students differently depending on all kinds of different variables. And race is definitely one piece of that puzzle. It is not the only piece. It may not be the most important piece depending on what we're talking about, but it is an essential piece to understanding the whole picture. We've made great strides in transparency with this with the implementation of the data dashboard this year, which is available to everybody to see on our website so that they can look at demographics of our students in all different ways and see how they're doing in all of our schools.
Thank you. Adam Greenbaum.
Thank you. So I was probably going to say a lot of what Ms. Winter said here. So instead, I'm going to take this as an opportunity to talk about DEI, and it's not a dirty word, right? When we look at those letters, the D stands for diversity, and that's what we're talking about here is understanding the diversity. We don't do diversity, it just exists, right? There's 76 languages spoken in Cherry Hill. There are countless religions, nationalities, economic status, right? And that's what we're really looking to do is understand the diversity of our community so we can strive for equity through inclusive practices, right? And again, I'm going to stay away from the dirty word of DEI, and I'm going to talk about equity because equity is just fairness. It's making sure everybody has the resources they need to succeed, and inclusion is how we do it. Sure, we look at race, that's one thing, but when we look at that, we also have to look at the underlying factors that lead to those disparities, and we have to find ways to address those. And by doing that, that is how we close opportunity gaps, it's how we close achievement gaps, and that's how we make Cherry Hill a better place.
Thank you. My last question. The district recently presented their portrait of a graduate for Cherry Hill Public Schools, a unified vision of what it means to prepare students for success, both in their academic pursuits and in life beyond their time with Cherry Hill Public Schools. Which of the core values presented in that vision do you think will be most challenging to achieve and why? And we will start with Adam Greenbaum.
Thank you. And I'm going to build on my last answer and say what the most controversial word was when we had these meetings, which was equity. It's making sure everybody has what they need to be successful. When we talk about Portrait of a Graduate, we don't just talk about academic excellence, we talk about academic success, because success looks different for everybody, right? We want everyone to have the resources that they need to succeed. And success might look like something different for everyone. Some will go on to the trades or in the military or to college or beyond, right? We want to create well-rounded students. We want to create students who are prepared for whatever comes next. We want to create global citizens who are ready to go out and make the world a better place. And the way we do that is through equity. It's one of our core values, and it's the one that ensures everyone has what they need in order to be successful.
Thank you. Candy Cummings.
So the value that is most important to me, and I've spoken on this before, is empowerment, or also sometimes known as agency. Empowerment, I can advocate for you. Agency, I can advocate for myself. Empowerment ensures every student knows that they have both the agency and the ability to shape their future. Just as importantly, it outlines characteristics and mindsets that we want to instill: adaptability, advocacy, open-mindedness, and determination. Determination to me is also a heartbeat of this vision, because coupled with empowerment, students can rise above obstacles, stay true to their values, and thrive in whatever path they choose. I love Portrait of a Graduate. I worked on this committee, and it was just an amazing committee to sit on. This is a promise to our students that they will not only succeed academically, but grow into empowered, compassionate, and determined global citizens ready for life beyond graduation. Thank you.
Colin Duckett.
I have to concur with Mr. Greenbaum. Equity has to be one of the top values there. Sending students out into the world, the job that we're doing here today is not getting students to graduation. Graduation is just the beginning. The job that we have to do here today, every day, is prepping through students not just to go out into the world, but to thrive and to have an understanding of how to treat other people, right? Equity is a value that was instilled in me from as long as I can remember. You know, I can remember in my preschool classroom the golden rule sign, you know, treat others how you would expect to be treated. And that's what we have to really instill into our students is that everybody deserves to have the same chance, and they deserve to be supported in every possible way. Thank you.
Thank you. Gina Winters.
So since this is the last question, I'm going to take the value of equity, but I'm going to spin it in a special education direction because that's something I haven't gotten a chance to talk about tonight that's really close to my heart. When I think about equity and I reflect it through a special education lens, I think about the fact that there are so many kids in this district who need the resources so that they can be successful, to use Mr. Greenbaum's word, and thrive in their unique individual way, because success doesn't look the same for every single student. If I'm looking at it through a slightly different lens, which is through MTSS, which is multi-tiered systems of support, that means that students get the tier of support that they need to be successful. That's something new that Dr. Morton has brought forward that we're looking towards in the school district. And when Mr. Guy and Dr. Birdie talk about it, looking at it in a lens from preschool to high school, we see how when students get what they need to thrive, whether that's tier 1, tier 2, or tier 3 support, they can move forward to be successful and to become the graduates to move out into the world beyond Cherry Hill. And isn't that the goal? To get them ready to thrive in the world beyond where we are now.
Thank you. Now we come to the closing statements. Each candidate will have 2 minutes for a closing statement, and they will speak in random order. Again, the timekeeper will give a 30-second warning. We will start with Colin Duckett.
Thank you. So as I've said, I am running for this position because I've lived it. And I'm currently living it. I know what it takes to go from high school to college. I know what high school students need. I know what college students need. A lot of these students are my former classmates. The junior and senior classes were all my former classmates. The juniors when I was a senior, the juniors were freshmen when I was a senior, and of course the seniors were sophomores. It's really personal for me, and I'm so incredibly humbled to be in this position. Aside from that, I'm committed to being a voice for everybody. Right? Governing requires listening, as I've said over and over and over again. I love listening, but that's really rooted in a bigger cause, and it's healing the political divide. Right? At the national level, we have an insane political divide. Even on the global scale, the geopolitical scale, the divide is fracturing more and more and more every day. And the work with healing that starts at the little communities. It starts here, and it starts by, you know, pushing out students into the world who understand the values of diversity, equity, and showing them that you have not to fear your neighbors. They are there to support you. They are there living their lives, and that's what's important to me. At the end of the day, we all want the same thing here. We all want for Cherry Hill Public Schools to be the best district it can be. We all want it to be a better district than the district it was yesterday. And the only thing that gets us all the time is we disagree on which road to get there. You know, 295 and 95 both lead up to New York. Which one are you going to choose, right? But I want to just reiterate my thanks to my fellow candidates and the League of Women Voters for hosting this forum. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Gina Winters.
I heard a little bit of Tip O'Neill there. All politics is local, right? Thank you to Zone PTA, the League of Women Voters, and my fellow candidates for the opportunity to be here tonight to discuss my vision for Cherry Hill Public Schools. From preschool to high school, the past 3 years have been an amazing opportunity to set our district on a path towards continued success. The board has sought to be a good partner with our district administration, teachers, staff, and community in making our public schools the very best they can be. I am asking for 3 more years on the board so that I can continue making progress on academic achievement for all students, sound fiscal management, including continued oversight of the bond referendum projects, and promoting an inclusive school culture where every student is welcomed and belongs. I am committed to safe and healthy schools for our students where they can grow and learn together. I think a key characteristic of a good board member is the ability to listen, both to other board members and to the community at large. The board is made up of 9 individuals who may have nothing in common except the willingness to serve. Over the past 3 years, and especially this year as board president, I have worked very hard to strike a collaborative tone on the board where all points of view are respected and every voice matters. I firmly believe better decisions are made when we all work together, and that mutual respect and openness creates an environment where the board can be its most effective in serving the community who puts its faith in us. The ability to listen is also critical for board members when we engage with the larger community. One of the most important ways a board member can be effective is to spend time at all of our schools to learn about each individual building with its unique school culture, strengths, and concerns. Over the past 3 years, I have volunteered as often as I can to be present at all 18 schools so that I can hear from you directly what your aspirations and concerns are. Cherry Hill is a community that values education and has a deep pride in its public schools. The experience of serving the community for the past few years has been amazing, but there is so much more to do. If I am entrusted with another 3 years, I am committed to continuing to do the work each and
Thank you.
every day.
Thank you. Next, Adam Greenbaum.
Thank you to Zone PTA, League of Women Voters, and my fellow candidates for the spirited discussion this evening. In my time on the board, we have faced many challenges and have accomplished great things for our students. Through bond referendum projects, we are rebuilding our schools to provide a learning environment that is up to the same standards as our rigorous academics. We have streamlined our math and ELA curricula and introduced additional supports such as MTSS and high-impact tutoring to help our students be successful. We implemented universal pre-K and are now providing full-day curriculum-based preschool for more than 500 students. And I continue to join with fellow community leaders in advocating for additional state funding and common sense changes to the funding formula that will give Cherry Hill its fair share. I'm excited about all that we have achieved, but there is so much more work to be done. I believe in fiscal responsibility, data-driven decision-making, leading with empathy, and ensuring a quality education for all. I'm asking the voters of Cherry Hill for the opportunity to continue serving our students for another 3 years. Thank you.
Thank you. Candy Cummings.
So I too wanted to say thank you to my fellow candidates, as well as the Zone PTA Executive Board and League of Women Voters for giving up their Sunday evening and volunteering to be here with us. As I close tonight, I want to bring us back to what matters most: our students, our teachers, and our community. As a board member, I will be centered on these 3 priorities: academic excellence, teacher support, and strong family and community partnerships. Academic excellence means setting high expectations while giving every student the tools and opportunities they need to meet them. We cannot rely on test scores to define success. True achievement comes from engaged classrooms, meaningful projects, and commitment to growth and belonging for every child. Supporting our teachers is just as critical. They are the heart of our schools, and when we provide them with the resources, training, and respect, we empower them to do what they do best: inspire and guide our children. And finally, strong partnerships with families and our broader community keeps our schools rooted in the values we all share. We face challenges from reduced state aid to rising cost, but I will be a responsible steward of your tax dollars, always seeking smart solutions and advocating for fair funding. This is about the future of our schools and the strength of our community. I'm ready to do the work, and I ask for your trust to do so. Together, we can deliver excellence for our students, respect for our teachers, and pride in our schools. Thank you.
Thank you. That concludes the closing statements. The League of Women Voters of Camden County and the Cherry Hill Zone PTA extend their sincere gratitude to the candidates for participating in this forum and to the audience members who joined us online in order to better inform themselves about this election. Please remember to vote on Election Day, Tuesday, November 4th, or by mail-in ballot, or in-person early voting Saturday, October 25th through Sunday, November 2nd. Thank you, and please encourage your friends and neighbors to vote as well. Good night.